Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Homeschool Moms Unfiltered. I'm your host, Amanda, and my amazing co host is.
Hello, I'm Meagan.
Hey, hey. All right, so we are your source for messy, imperfect homeschool advice and community. We aren't influencers. We don't get paid to sit here and push programs that we don't even use. Honestly, if a company approaches us and I try it out with my kiddo, we don't recommend it unless I think it's a really quality resource or curriculum. And we have 100% turned companies down. We're just not about that. We are all about honest advice and real, true glimpses into the real world of homeschooling.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that this is a bitch fest where we just show up and complain about our kids and complain about homeschooling the whole time. We love homeschooling. Okay. Love it. We love doing life with our respective amazing kids, but that doesn't mean that every single day is easy. It's a balance. Awesomeness on lots of days. Plenty of days are awesome. And then there are other days that end in tears. And for me, a pint of ice cream, but I'm going to guess for Amanda, more like a margarita. So
Yeah. Or a beer or a shot of tequila. I don't There's significantly fewer shots of tequila now, but when my kiddo was little, there was more than one occasion that I would message my husband and be like, "Do not come home unless you've got a new bottle of Patron." Like, so yeah, true story. Okay, so you will get the full picture here. The other thing that you're going to get is inclusion. We have a secular space. We're going to share progressive values, like basically the golden unicorn of the homeschool world. We promise not to lure you here and then slip in some dog whistle crap from Fox News, like kids are using litter boxes, even though they're really just for active shooter drills, but we would never want to actually admit that, right? And you will never hear us refer to another human being as illegal. Not going to happen. Not here. Wrong podcast if that's what you want.
yeah, exactly. Have a great day.
Yep.
um,
Toodles.
yeah. But as someone who's homeschooled in 4 states in the Southeast, I mean, I've homeschooled in Texas. What a shit show. Okay. Florida twice, which is like vying for most bonkers state against Texas. It's like, which one of us can be more awful? I've homeschooled in both Carolinas because the first one wasn't, I don't want to say bad enough, but fill in your own adjective there. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, I'm super aware of how rare our vibe is because I've seen it all, right? So if you are struggling to find your people in the homeschool community, welcome and settle in. We are glad you have found us.
Yeah, for sure.
So today we're going to be talking about handwriting. We are both in a gazillion and one Facebook groups for homeschool parents and caregivers. And this is a topic that comes up a lot. People post pictures of their kids' handwriting and say, is this okay for a 6-year-old? And people want to know what kind of pencil grips to buy. And they're looking for copywork activities for their 4-year-olds. We're going to go deep into all of this today. We are going to talk about nothing but handwriting today. Well, we're going to try to. Sometimes we end up on a fun diversion and you're welcome to come along with us. But yeah.
Side
So
quests.
side
Side
quests.
quests.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So yes, but first we begin all of our episodes with a weekly recap. It's part of our keeping it real anti-influencer jam over here. So how's your week been, Amanda?
What's new besides the fact that I'm tired? If you haven't listened for long, I have chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and like a whole list. I've literally like a huge list of health issues. So tired is not a new state of being. It's just every once in a while, it's like the primary state, not even every once in a while. Far too often these days, it's the primary state of being. This week's particular focus and concern is the freaking laundry. I don't know why these people insist on wearing so much clothing, but they do. And I just cannot get caught up on the laundry in my home. So in our house, my husband is in charge of the dishes and keeping the kitchen clean, and I am in charge of laundry, primarily because he believes in just putting all of the laundry in the basket once it's out of the dryer and then never actually folding it. And I don't like my stuff being that wrinkly. So at one point early in our relationship, we divided chores that no one particularly enjoyed. Laundry is mine. And I started by dealing with it by just being like, I'll make sure I buy at least 30 pairs of underwear for everyone in the family. That means I don't have to do laundry more than once a month. But I am very behind. And at some point, like, you have to actually just do the laundry, right? So we're at that point. Let's see, what else have we got going on? We have a bunch of Halloween festivities lined up because, like, we all really enjoy Halloween in our family. And my tween, right, if you've been listening, he's a little bit older. So I think it's really fun that he's picked to go as Nuffle Bunny this year. We enjoyed the Nuffle Bunny books. So I just love that. It's a fun one. A little harder to make as a family costume. We usually do a family costume, but still a super cute one. So it's all right. And then if you listen regularly, you have probably picked up on the fact that most of our world schooling adventures are just me and the kiddo. But every once in a while, I'd say usually around 25% of the time, though that might be a bit generous, my husband chooses to come with us. He's not a big traveler, but he does join us from time to time. And we have a big multi-week family vacation to Bali coming up. So I'm very excited about it. It's one that we've been wanting to do, and we have lots of great places we're staying, and we're going to see a lot of amazing things as soon as I get around to planning it and booking a driver. So I am low key stressing about prepping for that because it's it's a coming, and I haven't booked anything. I haven't even booked the driver from the airport to the hotel. So I do need to get on that soon.
And
Maybe
if
today,
you
but
are
probably not.
if you are new to the podcast, we have talked about the fact when we go on our world schooling adventures, each of us, we are not spending what you think we are spending on our world school adventures. Amanda is like the queen of credit card points, and I'm very fortunate that my husband owns a business, and so I receive a lot of credit card points through his business purchases and things like that. But if you're ever looking to try to figure out how to world school on a budget, come to one of our homeschool Q&As or something over on Patreon. We will help you figure out how to homeschool. We will help you figure out how to world school on a budget because it's more attainable than most people think without needing to be independently wealthy or a trust fund child. So
Yeah.
neither of
No,
us are.
that's it. No, exactly. I mean, we we got decently affordable. We did budget deals. I found a deal to Bali for airfare, and that's how we finally pulled the trigger. But we are, let's see, 10 of the nights that we're there are in a suite, and it's totally covered by points. We're not paying a single dollar out of pocket. And because of the suite that we're staying in, we get like lounge food for every meal if we want it, and like free kids club access and all of that stuff. We're not paying for that. That was just because we paid for everything else that we needed to pay for anyway with our credit cards, right? So yeah, big points and travel hacking stuff over here for sure.
Yeah. So come, we're happy to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's going to be so fun. I've never been to Bali. So yeah, I'm excited. I'll have to add it to my list of places to go by the time I hear your review, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have done a lot in Asia because I lived in Asia at one point. So, but I have not been to Indonesia. I'm excited. Recently my kiddo was reading something and he turned to me and he was like, "Where's Angkor Wat?" And I was like, "Oh, that's in Cambodia. It's really beautiful. You should totally go sometime." And he was like, "And that's your way of saying that you've already been, so I have to wait until I'm a grown up and take myself." And I was like, "Yes. Actually, that's exactly my way of saying that. But it's an amazing trip for a young adult to take on their own. So you should totally do that as a young adult and go have that experience."
Have fun, kiddo.
um, yeah. Yep. So it'll be a fun one. We have not done much of Asia with my kiddo. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. How about you? What do you got going on this week? It's a little better? Things settling down a little more?
Yeah, a little bit. Thank goodness. Every day, just a little smoother. I'll take it. I talked in last week's episode about the fact that we had a very, very large family emergency that threw everything off of the axis. And yeah, so it was just kind of putting life back together after a while. So we're working on that. Yeah, I'm hosting speaking of world schooling, I'm hosting a world schooling pop up here in Lisbon next week. And so that'll be busy. There's like 40 families coming with 75 or 80 kids among them. So it's going to be a very large event.
I hear that song, like, ready or not, here I come. I'm gonna like, ready or not,
It's
it's coming.
It's happening. It's going to be amazing. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for that. There's a bunch of new people coming who've never done the World Schooling pop-ups before. So that'll be really fun to kind of have that experience with them. So I'm looking forward to it. That'll be nice. I'm just hoping for dry days because it's really hard when you have a group that big. And a lot of times we convene in parks to start the day or end the day or whatever. So I'm like, please, please, please just don't rain. So that's been my goal. So that's coming. And I've been working because I have pop-ups next year in Egypt and Naples, Italy. And so I've been kind of working on putting some groundwork together for that. But I'll link those in the show notes if you have any interest, if you have any questions. There's Facebook groups for them. There's web pages that kind of outline what the World Schooling hubs are all about and all that stuff. So if you're interested, I would love to welcome you. But yeah, so I've just been kind of working on that. And then, yeah, I've been working on a couple of fall-ish sewing pieces. It's still like 75 to 80 degrees here, but with a little bit of a breeze that makes you feel like it's fall. So and it will get more fall-like in the next couple of weeks. So I've just been pulling together a couple of different pieces that I can wear now that the weather is changing a little bit. But it was funny because I was in New York a couple of weeks ago and I had dinner the first night that I was there with my best friend from high school. And she was like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, "Oh, I think I'm going to go to Mood Fabrics because it's like this massive 3-floor fabric store in New York City and all of that." I was like, "I want to pick up like some linens and stuff for my spring summer capsule wardrobe for next year." And, I was like, because, it's just like so much easier sometimes to just make your own clothes and blah, blah, blah. Like, and I said it just super matter of factly because for me it is, right? I would so much rather do that than go to 500 stores and try on a million things. And I need this one in a bigger size and this one in a smaller size. And these pants need to be hemmed and like blah, blah, blah. So for me, I feel like that is easier. And she's got like this super cut and dry personality. And she was like, "That's not actually easier, but okay, continue." And I was like, I find it much easier. So I just washed 2 bits of fabric. They're hanging on the drying line right now so that one will become a dress. And I haven't decided if the other one's going to become skirt or pants, but I'm excited. It'll be good. So I'll pull together a few new pieces to freshen up my wardrobe.
Oh, nice. Very nice. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So we're definitely going to dive into the podcast, but before we forget, our next book club is the book, The Anxious Generation. Okay, we'll have a picture of the cover and a link to it so you know for sure you're getting the right one on our social media. Because if you're anything like me, you're going to listen to this and then you're probably going to forget the title of the book. So, yeah, you can go find it on our social media. It'll probably be here in the show notes, but it's called The Anxious Generation. And the first live book club meeting on Patreon will be the first week of November. So if you're listening and you've been waiting to find out what we're going to do next because you're super over the AI book, hello, thank you, me too. I'm looking forward to The Anxious Generation. Okay, so that said, handwriting. Today we're going to start exploring, we'll see how it goes, where we get to, but we're going to be exploring like the age and developmentally appropriate expectations, what neurodivergence looks like, accommodations, and just loads more. Okay, so all of those things play into handwriting. Hopefully, you understand that if you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh, yes, I need a podcast about handwriting." Hopefully, you know that it's not that straightforward and we're not going to give you like 14 handwriting curriculums for your kiddo. Okay, so the myth of early handwriting equals smart kiddo. Oh boy. It's just that thing, right? You're in Facebook groups or you're at the park or whatever it is. And parents are so often panicking because their 4-year-old isn't tracing letters yet or they don't know how to write their name yet and it's like it's it's okay. Reality check. Early writing is not a direct correlation with intelligence or long-term academic success. Yes, there are kids who are highly intelligent and will have great long-term academic success who were early writers. But you know what? There are also kids who have great intelligence and will have wonderful long-term academic success who aren't writing by 4, it is okay. It's okay. We promise.
Mm-hmm.
And the research says it's okay. We have been truly conditioned to equate early pencil use specifically. I don't really know why we've decided that it has to be pencil, but early pencil use is somehow like readiness. They are ready to go out and tackle the world because they can use a pencil. But the human body literally isn't built for that at such a young age. So I might have told this story before. Personal side note that here's our semi side quest that we were talking about. But many years ago, we got sent to an early intervention type thing when my kiddo was around 2.5. And it all started because my partner and I had gone for genetic testing for IVF. And the genetic testing showed that my husband and I both carry this same very rare gene for hearing loss. Our IVF specialist in a major city was like, I have never had one patient have this gene, let alone 2 who happen to be married to each other. You need to do some things about this. And at this point, we already had a kid, so we got referred to genetic counseling and some extra testing and things like that for the kiddo that we had, as well as discussions about what it might look like and if we wanted to proceed with IVF. And look, hearing loss, whether it be from birth or whatever, was not like a make or break for us. But we did want to know for our kiddo, right? Because anyway, I won't get into all of that. But so we're at this early intervention type thing. And part of it is there's like a big push to have these things decided and you enrolled in programs before your kid turns 3 because of state funding or federal funding, wherever the funding comes from. And they have to be in it before 3 for the funding. But the whole thing was such a mess because every time we went for an evaluation about something, like we went there because of hearing, and every time he failed their assessment for something unrelated to what we were there for. And so then we'd have to come back for a more in-depth assessment about the thing that we failed. And when we'd go back, he would pass that just fine with flying colors. And then he'd fail their random assessment for something else. And then we'd have to go back for an in-depth assessment about that. And he would pass it with flying colors and he'd fail it for something else. And it was just like this over and over. And we were really like, do they just get paid for every time we come in the door? Because this is really what it feels like here. But at one point, he failed because he couldn't use scissors correctly. And I was like, please tell me who has given their 2.5-year-old scissors because like, not in my home, right? And so then I'm like down the rabbit hole of like, okay, I finally found these plastic scissors you use on Play-Doh that can't cut anything else. And I'm like, I'm not really sure that actually teaches much because in what world do you use the feeling of cutting Play-Doh with scissors? But all right, whatever. And he could not draw a circle with paper and crayons. And again, I was like, what random arbitrary tasks to fail as a 2.5-year-old? Like,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
I can't, right? I can't. I mean, the reality is their hands aren't ready to do that stuff yet. I mean,
Hmm?
and it's so funny because you see people in these groups and they're like, "Well, my child is exceptionally gifted and whatever." And listen, Amanda and I both have children who have been tested as gifted, but it's like every parent thinks their kid is exceptionally gifted, especially at like 2 or 3 years old, you know? They're like, "Oh my gosh, did you see that? Did you see what they just did?" And it's like your child can be freaking Einstein. It doesn't mean their hand is ready to hold a pencil. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, brain power did not, in fact, grow bone.
Right. You
Imagine.
know? It's not how it works. We have a course that we teach on preschool and kindergarten and what is age and developmentally appropriate about that. And in it, you'll see there's these x-rays that are there and they've been put out by this doctor, Dr. Kelly Fraden. And it shows the hand of a 3-year-old kiddo, an 8-year-old kiddo, and a 15-year-old kiddo, an x-ray image of each of them. And you can see that the little kid's hands, the 3-year-old's hands, are not fully developed. The growth plates look like little stubs. They're still forming. The wrist doesn't even have all the bones in it yet. I mean, forget about things not being connected. The bones aren't even there yet. And some of the bones are still soft cartilage. They cannot hold the pencil. It is not a matter of willpower. It is not a matter of buying a triangular crayon or a fatter pencil or this pencil grip or whatever. Oh my gosh. I mean, this is like asking a child with 3 baby teeth to chew a steak. Like you wouldn't do that. And so it is the same concept. Their hands aren't ready. And you can have a super gifted kiddo and you can challenge that kiddo and keep them engaged and keep them sparked and all of that without them needing to hold a pencil. Those two things do not equate.
No, absolutely. And, look, I 100% had those wipe clean marker or those wipe clean like books and random boards and things. And I let my kid use the marker, and we got the fat crayons that were dry erase wipe clean type ones, and scribble over it. And sometimes he connected the numbers and sometimes he got close to drawing the shapes or whatever. But it's about fun. This is not the age that you're like, make sure you stay on those dotted lines with that wipe clean thing. It's a dry erase wipe clean thing so that they can do it over and over and over. And at some point they'll maybe do it on the line. And at some point, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll be like, I am so done with this book before they even get to that point. And that's okay too. So let's talk typical age that things should probably be happening or that you will likely see. So by age 5, likely a kiddo can draw a cross, a square, and a triangle, things that have actual points and corners. That's pretty kind of typical. By age 6, kiddos can often copy the letters in their own name, especially. They might be doing the whole alphabet, but for sure, it's pretty common by age 6 for kiddos to be able to copy the letters in their name. By age 7, they can often, not always, but often write a few lines of text. It might be on the line, it might be in between the lines, but they'll probably be able to write a line or a few lines of text. Okay, now some kids do it earlier, but earlier isn't better. Earlier is just earlier. And this is not a green light to push earlier because, again, like Meagan said, you're in the unique position of having a genius, gifted, accelerated child. Like it doesn't matter at that age. Like it truly it truly doesn't matter. Even if you wanted to send your child to the Johns Hopkins Center for Talented Youth, they're not even going to look at your kid yet. They won't even allow you to do the testing, to put them in the classes, to do the acceleration. They're too little. They're too young. Like it's not time yet. Just, it's okay. It doesn't matter.
Okay. So what should kids be doing instead? And yes, we're leaning into pre-writing skills. And kids can engage in pre-writing activities at any age. So if handwriting isn't your 10-year-old's thing, your 12-year-old's thing, you have a kiddo who has neurodivergence, which again, we'll talk about in a little bit, any of these things, there's no age limit on pre-writing skills. It's not baby stuff. All kids can benefit from these things or can enjoy these things if it's something that's on their trajectory. So what might that look like? Tracing letters in dirt and sand and shaving cream. Things that have nothing to do with handwriting at the surface level, but do have tons to do with handwriting are things like catching, eye-hand coordination from catching a ball. And so there's so much to be said for learning through play. And yes, catching a ball is tremendous. Stacking things, stacking blocks, stacking whatever, sorting stuff. I mean, there's so many different things. I know when my kids were little, they went to this creme de la creme preschool, which if I had to do it all over again, oh my God, I would have saved all that money. And we would go on so many more trips because it turns out my kids didn't need a creme de la creme preschool to get ahead in life, quote unquote. But that's that thing. That's what you think when they're little like that. And especially I lived in an area that was like, what was that TV show with oh gosh, what was it? Not Desperate. Was it Desperate Housewives? Is that the TV show?
No idea.
I think.
No
I don't know.
idea.
Oh, and then we lived in an area where it was like everybody, well, where's your kid going to preschool? And well, I put the kid on the preschool list the moment after we had sex. So, we're number 147 on the list. And it's like, we were living there, right? So I did what they did. And oh my God, what I spent on preschool. But anyway, every time I turned around, those kids had a pair of tongs in their hands, picking up pom-poms and sorting them into different things. These are pre-writing activities. That's why they were doing it. Play-Doh, to your point, cutting through Play-Doh, cutting paper. Oh my gosh, the amount of snowflakes my middle child made. The white snowflakes where you fold the paper? There were little triangles of white paper all over my house for like 2 years. So
My
There you
kiddo
go.
just made confetti, homemade confetti. Fantastic.
He was like, screw the snowflake. I'm just going with confetti.
Yeah, just a bunch of little pieces of paper everywhere to drive you insane.
I would lose my mind because you know how I feel about messes.
I do know how you.
My gosh. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Although
Right.
I just have to back up for a minute because you started this by saying even for older kiddos, 10 and 12, and then you talked about stacking, and all I could think of was stacking red Solo cups. So, you can practice at any age. Life skills. Life skills.
Exactly. There you go. I mean, Legos are timeless. I mean, you can do Legos forever, and Legos are an amazing pre-writing skill. When they're smaller, it might be the big Duplo blocks, and then they can get into the smaller bricks when they get a little bit older, and you're not positive they're not going to eat them. So you've got lots of options there with Legos as well. So those are all things that work for fine motor for pre-writing. Core strength, swimming, climbing, swinging, anything where they're engaging their core helps with posture, control for writing, stamina. These things are all there. And when we talk about neurodivergence, we're going to talk about muscle tone and things like that. A lot of times those kiddos struggle with muscle tone, and a pencil grip isn't going to help muscle tone, right? In so many ways. So some of these things, a tremendous, tremendous help. So pre-writing is not wasted time. It's not going soft on writing. It is a really essential piece of writing preparation, easing into writing. Yeah, confidence for writing, all of that stuff.
Well, that's it. And pre-writing skills, it's never too late to do those things, whether you have to maybe age it up because you've got a kiddo who's older and they don't want to play with tongs, so it's like, you're like, okay, so maybe you do a kids cross stitch or something like that. It's like running a marathon, right? You're never like, well, you're 37 now, and so you're too old to prepare, so you just need to go run the marathon. Right? Like, writing is the same. There's never a point where you're like, well, actually, you're old enough that you just need to be able to do this.
You should just be able to do it.
Yeah. It is always okay to practice these skills in age appropriate ways. Again, if you need to age it up by stacking red Solo cups or doing cross stitch, it's never a bad thing. Okay. So Meagan alluded to it, but how neurodivergence affects handwriting. So for neurodivergent kiddos, and we're talking like ADHD, dyslexia, autism, DCD, et cetera, like they're all of them. Handwriting is a multi-system challenge for anyone without neurodivergence, right? I think as grown-ups, we forget, the vast majority of us don't really think about how many things and processes need to come together to write even just a simple sentence, right? Our brains need to think about the words. They need to think about how they're spelled. They need to think about the letters and which direction they face, and if they go up and down or to the left or to the right, which ones are capitalized, which ones aren't. Our brains have to remember where we put the spaces, and it's between the words and not the letters. And then we have to think about the types of punctuation we're going to use. And is there an apostrophe? Is there a comma? And which ones get spaces? And do they get spaces before the punctuation or after the punctuation? And then we have to remember where the letter goes on the line. And is it one of the ones that goes right on the line? Is it one of the ones that goes below the line? Is it one of the ones that goes above the rest of the letters? All of these things. And then you've got which letters have extra floating dots and which ones have random lines that go through them. And you got to go back and do this. Writing takes a huge amount of processing in a very short period of time. There's a very good chance if you are listening to this podcast, you have never before sat and thought about how many different things happen in an instant for you to write the word the, right? There's so much that goes into it. And so if you have a kid with neurodivergence going on and there's something else going on there, they're differently wired and things just don't connect quite the same way, it is no surprise that it might take longer to write, or it just doesn't look the way you think it should look because one of those pieces got missed. Like their brain was firing, it was doing all the different things, and it forgot to put the letters on the line, or it forgot to put the spaces between the words because it was getting all the other things right. It's okay.
When you were running through that, it made me think of when we had Leah on earlier this year for
Mm,
our Autism Acceptance Month episode. And Leah
yeah.
parents 2 autistic kiddos, but I think she's her oldest child. I wanna say she's maybe she's the middle. I think she's 17-ish, and she is profoundly autistic, and Leah said something in that episode that just repeats in my head every once in a while. I can hear her voice where she said that her kiddo works harder than anyone she knows for the little bit of communication that she has.
Mhm.
So all those things, you're talking about handwriting, but she's talking about verbal communication. But all of the things that need to line up and fire within her brain and within the rest of her body to express what for so many other people is a really basic need or a really basic thought to communicate. And the amount of effort and work and commitment that it takes for her to express that. And that's exactly what I just thought of when you were reading that off, because it's so true. We have to acknowledge that for some people, that is a tremendous amount of work and dedication and effort.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And especially if you've got a kiddo with slower processing speed or rote recall issues, like please, please, please keep this in mind. And remember, right? It's not that they don't want to. It's like asking a car without gas or without oil to make it work. And you wouldn't just be like, "Well, I don't care, drive anyway." Keep these things in mind. Some other things that you should also keep in mind are other ways that this can play out: executive function issues. Sometimes that can mean poor motor planning and sequencing. You might see that play out with handwriting. Sensory sensitivities, like aversions to textures, certain types of paper or writing instruments. I'm not even on this list, but I hate that, like, I don't know, it's kind of like a beigey color paper that has like a really rough texture.
It's fibrous.
I
You can like see
yes.
the fibers.
I hated having when I was a kid, I hated having to write on that. I hate that texture of paper. I just hate it. And that's
Hmm.
what we give little kids. Like, here, write on this. And then you have to write across it. And there's like, it's almost like people always talk about fingernails on a chalkboard. For me, the sound of the writing against that textured paper, like, oh, it's so awful, right? Like
Hmm.
this, it's a real thing. And for kids who have even more pronounced sensory issues, like that kind of paper or some kind of a crayon that's like super gritty and it doesn't roll smoothly, or lead that's really crappy, and pencil pressure can become an issue. So maybe they
Hmm.
push too hard and that the lead's always breaking, or they don't push hard enough. And I, my kiddo just had that. We were meeting with our oversight teacher and she was like, in the future for your worksheets, could you push a little harder? And I was like, we'll just have him do the ones you're going to look at in pen because he's not going to push harder. Like,
Hmm.
that's how firm he likes to write on the paper. And we're not going to make him do that. But I can get him a pen for the ones you want to look at if you can't see that pencil, right? Like, I'm sorry you're old and you can't see it, but we're not going to make him write harder.
Yeah.
And that's an easy accommodation we can do. No problem. We're
Hmm.
homeschoolers. Not a problem. He can write in pen. I don't
Yeah.
have to require that he use a number 2 pencil. It's fine. Fine motor delays, right? There can be a weak grasp or fatigue, and a pencil grip might help that. But also these pre-handwriting skills and exercises are going to help that more. There's also that issue of perfectionism and anxiety
Oof.
for a lot of kids that are differently wired for any reason. Perfectionism can be such an issue, and it might make them want to just avoid it altogether. Or it could mean a lot of meltdowns about the fact that they knew what it was supposed to look like and they did it, and yet when it came out of their hand it wasn't what it was looked like in their head. And you know it is what it is. And as the parent, you can push your kiddo and enjoy all of those meltdowns, though I don't know any parent who's like, I love the meltdowns, let's have more of them. Or you can back off and look at the ways that you can work with your kiddo to not have that, right? The bottom line is, when handwriting becomes a source of stress, we need to reframe the goal from neatness and how good it looks to whether or not your child is able to communicate through writing. That's
Hmm.
enough. Can they
Yeah.
communicate?
Yeah. And genuinely, if you're struggling with that reframing, we get it. We get it. I
Yeah.
mean, hello. I was raised in the world of you have to learn cursive and it has to be beautiful because it was a sign of your intelligence. It was a sign of social status. It was a sign of all of these things. If you could write neatly, and none of that is true, first of all, but it was drilled into our brains. My whole life, that's how it was. So if you are struggling to let go of some of these things, we totally get it. Come, we can help. We have a Homeschool 101 course that helps you figure out how to deprogram a ton of those thoughts through deschooling for yourself, how to create goals of what your ideal learning environment looks like, how to identify things that you want to let go that you don't want infiltrating your homeschool. And sometimes those things infiltrate your homeschool completely unbeknownst to you because they're just so natural that that's what you do. I've talked about it before. It was like when I first had my own home, I started buying all the brands that my mom had always used in our home, right? I was buying Dawn dish soap and I was buying the same laundry detergent. And then I was like, hold on, we're like 24 and poor. Why am I buying Dawn dish soap, right? Like, I have no business buying this. It wasn't a conscious choice. It was just what I knew. And so when I went into the store, I'm like, that's the bottle I know. And I brought it home with me. So sometimes we let these things come in and it's not even a conscious choice. So we have a workbook that goes with that course where you can do all these different activities and we'll walk you through them in the course where you can put pen to paper. Hopefully it's not a gritty piece of paper. You get to print the book yourself at home. You can order it on Amazon as well, but you can print it at home and choose whatever pencil and whatever piece of paper texture works for your needs.
I will say I have the printed copy and the paper is nice and smooth. So if that's a concern for you, it's okay. I totally would have been like, we got to find a new printer because this paper is not going to work if it was awful. Just putting that out there.
Excellent. Yeah. So there's a link in the show notes. The course is less than $30. So we tried to make it as affordable as possible. It's got 5 really meaty modules plus the workbook, and there's tons of stuff there. So if you're struggling to let go of some of these ideas, maybe your spouse is, maybe you're okay with it, but your parenting partner or your spouse is really like, but look at these worksheets, they're a mess, or why isn't the kiddo doing worksheets? Why aren't they doing more? I've suggested to more than one person in Facebook groups where the parents or caregivers aren't aligned about homeschooling. I'm like, register for the course, print out 2 copies of the workbook, and do it together. And compare your workbook notes. Get on the same page by comparing workbook notes. Can't imagine a better way to align going forward is to be able to kind of talk through those things.
That's it. I mean, we have done an assortment of courses. We've done various courses between my partner and I because we come from very different backgrounds and we want very similar things moving forward. But how we get on the same page to achieve that, right? Like we want the same kind of ultimate end goal and we have kind of the same ideas, but like getting there, we're not on the same page about. And it's hard. It's hard to really figure out how you get on the same page about those things. So we love doing courses, whether it's something like the preschool and kindergarten reimagined, like how to really make it work, or like homeschool 101 is great if you're just like, let's figure out this homeschooling thing. How are we going to do it? Because so often it's like, well, my husband wants this or my partner wants this. And I think this is better. Get the class, print off 2 workbooks, talk through it, do it together. Like it's such a great way to get on the same page about parenting as things get more and more nitty gritty, right? Like when
Mhm.
you have a baby, you're like, okay, we agree we're not going to spank the child, like we agree we're going to sleep train or we're not going to sleep train. Then when they get older and you got to start like really get in the weeds about being on the same page about things, it's hard.
Yeah, it is. And I find it hard sometimes to articulate, like,
Mm,
especially if my husband
yeah.
brings up something that's just like so out of left field and quite frankly stupid. I have I have a hard time not just being like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like that's not gonna happen. But like I that's not gonna help me win, right? That's not gonna help me bring him over to my side. That's not gonna help me change the way he's thinking. I need
Yeah.
something other than what a stupid thing to say. And so sometimes we just need like a central point to operate around, you know?
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah. And then sometimes I do just say, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Yesterday, I sent a text to our family chat. I was just talking with my mom and my husband. It's the 3 of us in this chat. And I was like, oh, well, the kids are in Portuguese class. And he didn't realize that they were taking this Portuguese class. I just hadn't had a chance to tell him. He works in another country. So sometimes that day-to-day stuff gets lost. And he was like, oh, are they learning Portuguese in that class? And I was like, no, they opted for Chinese. Like, I'm like, what? And my mom was like, I talked to my mom later and she goes, oh, the second I saw that question come through, I was like, oh, he better back up because it's coming. She was like,
delete message for all. Delete message for all.
I was like, seriously, dude. Right? So, yeah, this will give you a way to communicate those things in a way that's a little softer. And two, we get to be the impartial ones. We get to be the ones that are there saying, like, this is it. And it's not just us. We put studies in our workbooks and links to studies so that you can dig in. And, if they're like, that's not true, it's like, okay, well, this was a study by Harvard. So here you go. Maybe read this at your leisure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in any event, the links are in the show notes. If you're interested, come. We would love to help. We're happy to help. Yeah. And they're meaty, meaty classes. Like, they don't take you 500 years to get through. We managed to pack a lot of meat into some modules and like really condense it down. So you can get a ton of confidence and, forward moving progress, next steps in a shorter period of time. So yeah, love it.
With significantly fewer side quests. We did not allow ourselves to side quest during recording of those.
It was really hard.
It was hard.
Really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the side quests are fun sometimes. Yeah, that's it. Sometimes I say to people, I'm like, some of this stuff we've covered, not all of it, but some of it we've covered in the podcast. I'm like, so you could listen to 200 episodes of the podcast, or you can take the course, which takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours of video time, right?
Yeah.
Your choice, either way. Yeah. So it's a very straight line path to where we're trying to get you. So
yeah, true story. True story.
Oh my gosh. All right. So before that interlude, we were talking about neurodivergence. Interlude aside, side quest aside, here we go. Before that, we were talking about how neurodivergence affects handwriting. And many, many, many neurodivergence diagnoses affect handwriting. But one that is probably the most direct is dysgraphia, which is a neurological condition that primarily affects handwriting. It's not like ADHD or autism where there are all these characteristics of it and handwriting happens to maybe be one of them. It's the primary thing within dysgraphia.
And I will say it's a little complicated, right? And I know that this is a thing in Meagan's home, so she's a bit familiar with it. It's a thing in our home. I definitely was looking at dysgraphia with my kiddo when we were doing other things. There is also a diagnosis of a specific learning disability impairment in written expression. It is not exactly dysgraphia. It is diagnosed differently, but there's still often an issue with the written product. And so just keep in mind that dysgraphia is kind of an umbrella term, but there's a lot out there. We're not going to even begin to pretend like we're experts in this, but there's a lot to learn about.
All right. So how and when to seek an evaluation if you think your kiddo might be dysgraphic. Persistent illegibility by third grade, age 9-ish. For international learners, that's about age 9 in the United States, despite consistent practice. So yeah, just not seeing that progress is kind of a big thing. Extreme fatigue or hand pain or severe avoidance of writing. Okay. Just it's a fight and it's a battle constantly, which kind of negates the first one, which was with consistent practice. So you won't have consistent practice in this case because it'll be too much of a fight all the time. There you go. Inability to organize thoughts on paper, even though verbally, orally, they do a good job at expressing themselves and they can answer questions or they can tell us a short story or something orally, but they can't quite get it down on paper. In our last episode where we talked about the idea of kids being behind, we talked about emotional distress, kids who are beating themselves up, kids who are like, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm never going to get this. Anytime you have something like that, that's something to be addressed because that really implants so firmly into their brains. And we want to stop that as early as possible and figure out what's causing it and figuring out what supports we can put into place to kind of silence those negative Nelly conversations that they're feeling. So yeah. So you can ask for a psychoeducational or neuropsychological evaluation. A lot of times these are done privately. Sometimes you can go through the school system. The school system ones don't tend to be super thorough. I'm just going to put that out there. The
Yeah.
private ones are bonkers expensive and the wait lists are really long. But yes, they can evaluate you. This really isn't something that your pediatrician is going to do. Most neurodivergents should not be diagnosed by a pediatrician. I'm sorry. They diagnose ADHD all the time with that stupid 2-page questionnaire. Should not be happening. They should be referring you out. But anyway, you might talk to your pediatrician about getting a referral for one of those things if you happen to need that through your insurance plan or anything like that. Or you might be looking for recommendations of who to go to. An OT, an occupational therapist, might be able to do an evaluation for fine motor, visual motor integration, posture, things like that. There's no harm in getting an evaluation. I mean, we literally say this constantly, but it's because it still persists and it's still out there. Get an evaluation. Labels are not bad. Labels are the map to how to understand how your child works and unlocking the answers that they need about how they work and what tools they need to succeed. So you are not diagnosing their potential, you're diagnosing the supports that they need to thrive. And there's a huge difference in that mindset. So 100% speak up, get the diagnosis, get the evaluation, ask for help, etc., etc., etc.
Yep. Information is always power. One other little caveat I will say is if your kiddo often flips or mistakes like the P's and Q's and D's and B's, a lot of times people, oh, dyslexia, dyslexia, go get
Yeah.
them evaluated for dyslexia. And it can be, right? It can be, but it can also be this that we're talking about. It can be dysgraphia. Dysgraphia, especially, is much harder to get a good diagnosis for and of. The schools, especially, are really bad about diagnosing it. So if you went and you were like, oh, I think they're dyslexic, and they're like, nope, not dyslexic, they're fine. And they're still consistently reversing these letters when they're at that like third, fourth grade age, like 9, 10. It's probably worth it to ask in a local moms group, check with your pediatrician, see if anyone knows someone who is familiar with this and can work with your kiddo. Maybe that'll be more affordable. Maybe they can officially diagnose it. But just keep in mind that if you were seeing that and you thought maybe it was dyslexia and they were like, nope, definitely not that. Everything's fine. And you're still seeing it, everything is probably not fine. And you just need someone who actually knows what the hell they're talking about. Okay.
Hmm.
Oh, US medical system. Yay. Okay, so tools, accommodations, alternatives. What are we doing to make writing work well? So I'm a big, big, big fan of scribing. You let the kiddo dictate to you while you write it for them. I hear all the time that this is cheating. It is not cheating. It is a recognized accommodation that can and really should go on IEPs in public school, but they don't use it that often because public schools don't have enough people to have kids with this issue scribe to someone and have them write the answers down. But it is 100%, you can go to understood.org or wherever else, they're going to have this there. Scribing is a wonderful alternative for a kid who has any struggles with actually getting their thoughts on paper. You can do voice to text. There's Google Docs is a reasonably okay voice to text option that is free. iPad dictation, there are speech apps. I personally will never understand why voice to text on your phone is exponentially better than any kind of word processing doc. Just know the technology could be better. It is worth trying. It can be a real challenge and a real struggle. I personally hate voice to text for the most part because it just takes so much work to fix it. That's why we do a lot more scribing. Early typing, for some kids, this can be great. Typing frees their ideas long before writing is comfortable. For some kids, typing is not going to help because the issue is getting it out of their head and their mouth through their hands. And if the issue is getting it actually out, it won't matter if it's typing
Hmm.
or writing. And in that case, again, scribing is wonderful. Cursive for some kids It doesn't work for everyone, but there are some kids where cursive works really well when they have dysgraphia. Something about the way that they write it, and they don't have to actually lift the pencil between the letters, and that can make a big difference for them. Worth giving a try. Pencil grips and slanted boards, we were ragging on them earlier, but they are great if they support the comfort or reduce fatigue for your writer. They're not great if they're forced to use them before they're developmentally ready or make them do something that they can't do. So if the tool reduces stress, fantastic, wonderful, use it. If it causes stress, please don't. Like, just ditch it, throw it away. It's good. Everything is good.
Yeah. And I think that's why I rag on pencil grips and slanted boards, is because we've had far too much of them in our lives and they were not successful. And I'm like, no, it got us nowhere fast. Actually, it wasn't fast. It was a really long freaking process and it still got us nowhere. So yeah, I have my own baggage when it comes to slanted boards and pencil grips, right? Speaking of my own baggage, right? The emotional and physical cost of pushing too hard when kids are struggling with handwriting, it can really freaking backfire, especially for neurodivergent kids. I mean, you can have a willful child, neurodivergent, neurotypical, doesn't matter. But some of those neurodivergent kids, they are like, strike it off the list. It's never happening again because it was a bad experience, right?
One time 4 years ago, I tried that and it did not go well. And therefore, we will not try it again.
Oh my gosh. Somebody was just talking to me about popcorn chicken from Publix. Publix is a supermarket in the Southeast. And my youngest child will be 14 in a couple of days. And he got sick after eating Publix popcorn chicken for his 5th birthday. It had nothing to do with the popcorn chicken. He was dysregulated, and that's one of his dysregulation responses, or at least it was. Thankfully, he's grown out of it. And so he threw up all his Publix popcorn chicken. And to this day, he's like, they're poisonous. And I'm like, they're not freaking poisonous. Like, one time, that's all it took. So there you go.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So anyhow, right? But I mean, just think about it. Asking a dysgraphic autistic kiddo to try harder, to write neatly is like asking a hard of hearing kid to just listen better, right? Like you wouldn't do that. You would provide tech, you would provide support, you would provide whatever tools that kiddo needs. And so the emotional cost of not doing that is really, really big. And Amanda broke down earlier everything that has to happen within the body and within the brain in order to write a sentence. So you have to think about it this way. If that's happening seamlessly for most neurotypical people, it's not for most neurodivergent kids. And so when they have to put so much of their effort and energy into doing those steps, it leaves nothing left for them to do anything else. So it leaves their creativity drained. It leaves their ability to comprehend what you're talking about drained because they're focusing so hard on doing that one other thing. It leaves them dysregulated a lot of times because they have put every ounce of effort into writing "Today is a sunny day" on a piece of paper, and there's just nothing left. And so it's like, do you really want to spend your full tank of potential on "Today is a sunny day" on a piece of paper? Or can we scribe that? Or can we voice note that? Or can we type it? And then you can now take that energy and direct it somewhere a little bit more positive, progressive, I don't know, whatever you want to say. But in any event, there's probably better ways you could spend that energy. So it's our job to meet our kids where they're physically capable, not where we wish they were developmentally. Listen, if your kid has a birthday party and they write thank you notes and the thank you notes look like they were scribbled with a pencil between their toes, that doesn't speak about you as a parent. And if someone does judge you as a parent for that, that's a them problem. That is 100% a them problem, not a you problem.
It is. And it doesn't speak negatively about your kiddo. If anything,
No.
it shows that they did this thing that was not easy and they still did it.
Yes.
And any parent or caregiver who looks at those thank you notes and thinks otherwise, you don't need them in your circle. Thanks.
No.
Okay, bye. Right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
exactly. I mean, when it comes to the amount of effort and focus that the kids need in order to do these things sometimes, I can only speak for my oldest child, but oh my gosh, when I tell you we did OT, we did vision therapy, we did equine therapy, we were working on crossing the midline, we were working on, oh my God, we worked on everything. Like, I cannot even tell you. Vision therapy was supposed to be like 2 months. We were there for like a year. I cannot even, with like zero progress happening. And we were just burnt out because not only are you doing all these therapy appointments, but then each one of them is giving you freaking homework to do in between. So we reached a point where we were both so burnt out and we were like, we're going to take a break and we're just going to be like, fuck handwriting. And we're taking a break. And let me tell you, during that break, my child came alive. My child completely flourished. We completely let go. We've never gone back to it. I'm like, I do not care because I realized the amount of spoons that he was putting into just trying to do these therapy activities, do the homework, trying to get his name down on a piece of paper was sucking every ounce of life out of that child. And when we were like, we're done with this, his life was able to be redirected elsewhere. And it was just incredible. So at some point, you're allowed to let go. I'm not saying
Yeah.
day one, but give it a try. Give it the old college try. But if it's not working, you're allowed to let go of things.
Yeah. No, totally. We're going to talk about that more in just a second. A very small side quest. If you listen to our podcast and you actually like it, please go like and follow. And if you have the time to give a review, that would be amazing. But if not, just like and follow, whether we like it or not. The world is run by algorithms and we just need it. That's how it gets out there. The more likes and follows, the more the people who are looking for it see it because it gets put up higher in the search results and all of that kind of jazz. So we would really appreciate it. Thank you so much, wherever you listen.
Plus,
Now,
it'll offset the people that we piss off when we say the Tuttle twins suck
uh,
and all that kind of stuff, because those people give us 1 star. So drown those people out.
yeah, that's it. We said that Columbus Day didn't need to happen, and now we're getting a little bit of a new wave of nasty Nellies. So yeah, go give us some love to help sort that out. Okay, but so when do you let go of handwriting? So this is going to vary by family, by kiddo, by goals, right? But the most important thing is to ask, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of this? Is it communication or is it conformity? And hopefully, if you're homeschooling and listening to us, it's not conformity. Your first primary goal is that they can communicate. And so, does it need to be neat? No. It's also important to remember that your child is going to live in a world that is very digital. Okay. Now, realistically, with AI and the things that are happening, if they want to go to university, there's a decent chance they're going to have to do more handwriting stuff. And that does suck. But that again plays into that go get a diagnosis, go know what it is, work with your child on their life skills and their ability to advocate for themselves and their ability to go to the office at the university and say, I have this and these are the supports that I need. Or how am I going to inform my professors that I have this? And even if my writing looks like I'm still in second grade, my thoughts are not second grade level. And how do we make sure that I don't get penalized for that? And that is a life skill that you are going to want to work with them on, and it will serve them far more than just what their handwriting looks like. If handwriting causes significant distress, technology can bridge that gap or not, and it's okay to pivot either way. Legibility and function will always matter more than cursive and aesthetics. I guess, unless maybe they decide to become a wedding calligrapher. So, also, look, kids, no matter how bad their handwriting is, they can still learn to sign their name. They can learn how to fill out a form. They can practice writing basic, simple notes. And beyond that, it's okay to adapt. Life is full of voice notes and quick post-it notes and seriously, you send a singing telegram if you can't write a letter. Like, there's lots of options.
Yeah. So, okay, listen, if we're just about wrapped up, but if you take only a handful of things away from this episode, here's a kind of a quick rundown. Developmental readiness beats age or grade level any day of the week. I don't care that your kid is 5 and you think they should be doing this. I don't care that they're 7 and you think they should be doing that. Okay. Age is it's most of it's arbitrary. Look for that progress, look for developmental readiness, put supports in place. It's all good. Play builds handwriting skills better than worksheets build handwriting skills. Legos, Play-Doh, picking up pom-poms, planting a garden, digging with a trowel, catching a ball, all that stuff is better for handwriting than worksheets are. True story. Neurodivergent kids may always write differently. They may not hold the pencil the way they want you to. They may not form the letters from the top down or the bottom up or whatever the heck you're supposed to do with specific letters. That's okay. It's totally okay. Their brain is wired differently than the people who made those rules. And so that's okay. Supportive tools are not cheating. Scribing is not cheating. Voice to text is not cheating. Typing your information, not cheating. It's all okay. Your job is not to fix their handwriting. It's to protect their confidence and help them communicate their thoughts. This is what's essential over handwriting a million times over.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And that rolls perfectly into today's mantra. Here we are. Okay, it's a longer one. Listen, it's a good one. We can stop pretending neat handwriting equals good parenting. Let them be little, let them be messy, and let their words matter more than their penmanship.
I
Yep,
love it. Beautifully
there you
said,
go.
Amanda. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you very much.
So head out to homeschool, and the amount of time, energy, and stress that you've been putting into handwriting, go do something fun. Go outside and play dodgeball or something. Just have a good time. It's okay. It's going to be
Yep.
amazing.
Yep. There you
That's
go.
amazing. All right, friends. Happy homeschooling.
Yeah. Have a great one.